Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday.
Welcome to Happy Monday. On today's episode, Kirk reminds us why life is a lot like riding a bike. And now, Kirk Shepard.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to the podcast. Hope that you had a good weekend and that you're ready for the week to begin. This morning, I wanted to talk about the art of the bike. So this weekend, I went to the Cincinnati Art Museum, and they have a special exhibit called Cycle Through the Art of the Bike. And in this particular exhibit, they have several different kinds of bicycles throughout the decades. And it was very interesting, and I enjoyed it a great deal, and thought that there were three bikes specifically within the exhibit that spoke to me from a mental health perspective. And so I wrote about that this morning in the blog. Of course, check out kirkshepard.substack.com. If you aren't already subscribed to the weekly blog, you'll want to do that. But this is the adjunct material to that particular Monday morning blog, right? This podcast is an add-on, although you could listen to this alone and not read, although I would really encourage you to read the blog. Anyway, so at the exhibit, The Art of the Bike, I thought this was very interesting. So let's take a look here. There were three bikes that spoke to me. And if you're not watching the podcast, you're just listening to it, I'll describe this particular bicycle that we're looking at here. This was a wicker bike. So it's made out of wicker. The wheels and the pedals are more traditional material, rubber and metal. But the rest of the bicycle is wicker. And while it's very pretty, I'm not sure that it's very practical. And sometimes that's okay. Right? This was an exhibit about art at the Art Museum, and so sometimes art is not supposed to be perfunctory. One of the things that I say a lot in my therapy sessions is the phrase, we're going to learn how to be more and do less. And for many people, that's one, frustrating, and for two, it's confusing. I'm not always sure what it means, but I know that everyone can benefit from the lesson. But it's going to be very specific to them and very nuanced in how we accomplish it. So for some, it's about reframing their identity away from a performance-based one, where they feel like their value is attached to what they do. That comes from a lot of upbringings where you were rewarded only for performance and not for your inherent worth. And so we spend a lot of time trying to uncover new ways of thinking about self-esteem. But for other people, they spend too much time trying to fix a problem, and sometimes the problem isn't going to be fixed. So somebody who has chronic illness, for instance, might be very frustrated with their lack of good health, no matter what they do, and they spin their wheels and they try really hard, and what they really need to be focusing on is something different than fixing. It might be learning how to accommodate. And we'll talk about that in a second. But I think that one last thing, sometimes people just aren't able to rest. They feel like they have to be doing all the time. And I just want to show up and be present. So in the counseling room, when I taught counseling students, I talked about this philosophy of you already are enough. We've taught you the basic skills. You are a good human, and you've got some pretty raw talent to make it as far as you did to get in front of me and the counseling education program. And so at that point, let's relax and let's just learn how to be present in the room. Let's not worry so much about getting it right and worry about connecting and worry about being authentic and making a difference relationally in people's lives. And that for me is being more and doing less. So it can mean lots of things. And this bike, this wicker bike, sort of exemplified that for me. Now, there was a second bike. This one is an ice bike. This has spikes on the back wheel and a sled on the front. And this was something that people would ride in the winter in the north as a way of getting around. And so that spiky wheel provided the traction for people to move the bicycle. This I thought was a great representation of focusing on what you can control. So instead of trying to fix the weather so you can go out and ride a traditional bike, you don't have any control over the weather, and so you adapt and you find ways to accommodate. Locus of control is a fancy way of saying what I say every day, which is, okay, let's focus on what we have control over here and not get bogged down in the worry and the anxiety over the things that are out of our control. And with this particular bicycle, what we have control over is accommodating the reality of our situation. We are on ice or snow, and so we have to find traction differently than we would if we were not in that stressful, special circumstance. So focusing on what you can control is what I learned from the ice bike. And the final bike is Pee Wee Herman's bike from the movie, the actual bike from the movie Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Now, many of you may be too young to remember this classic from the 80s, but Pee Wee's Playhouse, I think, has gotten a lot of cult following now and a lot more flowers than it got when it was on for being kind of brilliantly quirky and wildly weird. But if you remember the movie, the plot of the movie was that Pee Wee was trying to find his bike. Somebody took his bike and he wanted it back. That bike represented for him more than just a material possession. It became his purpose. It became part of his identity. And so I wonder, as we go through life, if it's not enriched by having a purpose, finding meaning in our day-to-day. If you don't know what your purpose is, if you don't know what your mission is, if you don't know why you're here, we should figure that out. You can do that in therapy, by the way. You can do that through journaling. You can do that lots of ways. But if you are struggling with being bored or feeling unfulfilled, I would encourage you to find your Pee Wee bike. So that is the Cycle On blog post and podcast material for the week. Now, lots going on in the world. Hopefully you're not being bogged down by the bad news. While it's hard to avoid the news in general these days with all the social media and all of the accessibility we have to content through TikTok and other methods, and cable news, whatever, I would encourage you to read a book. I would encourage you to take time out of the day for you and just meditate, be one with the universe, pray, whatever it is that you do that grounds you. I would encourage more of that and less of the interest in what's going on in the world. Now, we do need to know what's going on in the world. We need to, I think, be present and active in government, especially local government. But sometimes we need a break from that too because it's too much. So just a reminder that we can only focus on what we have control over, and we need to figure out what our purpose is while we're being present and doing less. So I mentioned reading a book, and I would love it if you would buy one of mine. There's Jesus and Me, The Search Party, and Soul Audit, all three available on Amazon and wherever you get your books, including at kirkshepherd.com if you'd like an autographed copy. I would love to get that in the mail to you ASAP. So check out my books. Also, don't forget, Friday will be a new humility post as we do a year of humility at ayearofhumility.net. All of this available at kirkshepherd.com. This particular post this week is called What We Bring, and it's once again talking about humility in conflict. So I hope that you're enjoying that as well. If you have not subscribed to the Substack, I hope that you will. You can do that for free, although you can also upgrade and pay for it. If you've not seen any theater lately, keep an eye on Off Book Cincinnati if you're in Cincinnati, if you're around the world. Check out your local theater and support that. Art makes a difference in the world. So that's what I got for this week. I hope that you go out and take on the day, take on the world, take on the day. You know who used to say that was that horrible Dr. Laura. Oh, hope you go take on the world with positivity, with excitement, with curiosity. And I hope that we see you back here next week for another edition of Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday.
Happy Monday, hosted by Kirk Shepard, is for entertainment and educational purposes only. While Kirk Shepard is a licensed therapist, none of the information presented on this podcast should be interpreted or thought of as clinical advice. If you're in need of mental health treatment, go to psychologytoday.com to find a therapist in your area. For more information on Kirk Shepard, his books, and more, go to kirkshepard.com.